Rick, you don't know this, but I also feel like I'm about to use your book to make my partner fall further in love with me.
Yes, that's what I like to hear.
So by that I mean I moved to El Paso, and my partner's from Juarez, and I am Panamanian. We do not use a lot of chile in our cuisine.
So sad.
It is much more, which is interesting because you still have coconut, but it is sweeter. There's more coco, there's more plátano. But I've never thought, what would it look like if one evening, when I told her I was going to cook dinner, I didn't make rice and coconut. I didn't make my grandmother's, arroz con pollo. I made a salsa. So I'm going to be taking notes.
Good.
And then I'm going to follow up with you in an email and inform you when I propose, if it worked out.
Okay.
Yeah, is that good?
I want you to let me know as soon as you guys start eating chiltepines.
I can do that. I was looking at the mañanera.
Uh-huh.
I was looking at that specifically because she loves chile de árbol.
Okay.
That's her favorite. So in the back, we started the conversation, as I often do these events. I feel like a pre-interview is always needed because I want to know the backstory first. And you told me something I really loved that I think sticks with me, which is the idea of what authenticity looks like when it comes to cookbooks. Would you talk about the origin story with this book?
Sure. So I personally love salsa. And I think it's interesting because, now having lived in Mexico for 5 years, the importance of salsas, which means sauce generally, so it's not just a condiment or something that's sitting at the table that you put on a taco. It's much larger than that.
Right.
To me, it very much feels, in terms of its importance in the cuisine, it's very much like French sauces, the way that they're revered. Yeah. I think moles and pipianes are mother sauces. In the same way that French cuisine has mother sauces, and that part has always been fascinating to me. I think what's even more interesting, and to the question of authenticity, in this country, unfortunately, and I'll just start out by saying I hate the word authentic, mainly because as a cookbook writer. Mm-hmm. When you are writing a book that is outside of traditionally American cuisine, the publishers always put the word authentic in front of your book, right? It's the most authentic version of this. And they have done this for, decades.
Yeah.
So now we have an entire population of American consumers that buy cookbooks that when they're looking for a Chinese cookbook or a Mexican cookbook or anything outside of the United States, they look for that word as the symbol of this is the more correct version of that cuisine. And then, when I started working on Mi Cocina, I thought, because I grew up in that world, that there was a correct version of each dish. And so I was chasing this sort of iconic ideal. And, I traveled to, for Mi Cocina, probably over 350 cities in Mexico.
Yeah. And
I would go into a town, and I knew, this town was famous, in Mazatlan, where I live, Tacos Gobernador. So I was looking for the version that was the most correct, right? The reality is, every person that makes that dish, every taco stand, every restaurant, hotel that makes Tacos Gobernador has their own version. If I invited 10 people to my house and I asked them to make an aguachile, there would be 10 distinctly different versions of that. And not one person is going to point the finger and say, that's not the way that my grandmother made that, or that's not the way you do that. They're going to go, oh my God, I can't believe you put this herb in that. I'm going to steal that when I make it next, right? and people celebrate the differences, right? It's all a part of your personal sazon, right? It makes the food distinctly yours. And so I think that there are versions of dishes like the Tacos Gobernador that was made in the 80s for the first time for the governor of Sinaloa, who went to Mazatlan, and the chef at the hotel that he was going to stay knew that his wife made shrimp tacos and he really loved them. So he's like, I'm going to make the best shrimp tacos that he's ever had. And that was the birth of that dish, right? And and so there was an original authentic version of that dish in the 80s that now, is international and
Legendary.
people do what, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think pretty much the only thing that, is constant that I've seen is shrimp, right? And that's fine because people make it their own. They cook with what they have, with what they love, with what's in season, with what grows locally, and it's all fine.
There was a question that was asked of you when you had some, I believe, students inquiring how you decided on what to put in the book, which you said was one of the hardest parts, and you took time with that. But the book itself was, you've been thinking about this for a while, right?
Yeah. Also, I finished this book really fast, which I was very proud of also. But so I knew I wanted to write a book about salsas, and it took me a while to figure out how to structure it because, most cookbooks are like appetizers, first course, main dishes, side dishes, desserts, whatever. Obviously, that wasn't going to happen in this book. And there were a number of ways that I could have structured it. So it could have been by ingredients, so like the tomato-based salsas, the tomatillo-based, or by what you put it on. This is more for tacos, and this is more for this, and whatever. And I wanted to make it more user-friendly and reader-centric, right? So if you think, what I tried to do is think about it from the point of view of the person reading the book or cooking through the book. And so I decided on preparation because also, if you do it by, preparation, you can also order it by the easiest salsas to the more difficult. Now, to be fair, it's salsa, so nothing is really that difficult. Mm-hmm. But, so the first 3 chapters are blended, smashed, and chopped. So
I love the pictures.
Yeah.
They're the textures of these images and the way that you zoom in on all of it.
And my production team, they're all friends of mine that I've worked with throughout the years. And so we literally had a party for 2 weeks at my house in Mazatlan, making food and eating and shooting, and it was amazing. But so the blended salsas are 5 minutes. You literally throw stuff in a blender, and that's it. And then chopped and smashed, you get that. Then we go into cooked. Mm-hmm. There's a sweet and spicy, which I love. And then you go into fermented and pickled, and then there's sort of an other category that it's the salsa machas, dairy-based salsas, vinegar-based salsas. So things are a little bit different that I couldn't really honestly think of a better chapter name other than Especial. And then the last chapter is basically 25 easy weeknight Mexican recipes. And honestly, in the beginning, that chapter didn't exist and wasn't even planned. Mm-hmm. What I learned so much when I was cooking through this book. And the first thing that I learned after probably about day 7 or 8, I had about 8 quarts of salsa in my refrigerator and freezer. And my neighbors, I would open the door and walk outside, and they would see me coming with quart containers, and they were like, no, go away. We have enough. We don't want any more. Keep your salsa.
Take your salsa.
Yeah. So I couldn't give it away. I couldn't cook anymore because I didn't have space for anything. And I absolutely refused to throw it away.
Of course.
So I was like, okay, you know what? I'm just going to start eating this, and I've got to figure out, what to do with it. So I went to the mercado, I bought ground beef, 2 pounds of ground beef, and I was like, I'm just going to make a meatloaf because I don't have to think about it. I literally 2 pounds of ground beef, a quart of salsa, mix, bake, done. That was literally the thought that went into that dish. So as it's baking, I'm like, it smells really, really good. And so it comes out of the oven, and I was like, wow. So I cut a piece, and I'm like, oh my God, this is imagine the best albóndiga and salsa you've ever had in your life, but together. That's what that was. And I was like, damn, this is good. Okay, so I ate that, and then I fed people that were my assistant was there, and at the time I was building the second floor to the house, so I had a full construction team upstairs. So that was also beneficial. They also love to fish, and so they would bring me fresh fish on Mondays because they would go fishing on the weekends. So I would grill the fish and then take all the leftover salsa and like get some tortillas and go, okay, you guys eat all of this.
I really want to work on your house. Like if I come and act like I can build a second floor
It's kind of
unit.
good to be my neighbor, I think.
I was going to say.
But anyway, so like I started like, trying to figure out different ways to make things. So like I figured out that if you take 1 cup of salsa and 3 cups of water, you now have a really flavorful vegetable broth that you can make soups or rice or beans or whatever. And so the more I kept doing that, like just experimenting, the more I was like, you know what? I need to actually figure out a way to incorporate this into the book. And then that's how the last chapter was born, because I was like, okay, so if you literally cook through this book like I did, then you're gonna have a lot of salsa, and you need to know what to do with it. And so that's a lot of the recipes. It's basically like a choose your own adventure story. So it's like 3 cups of whatever your favorite salsa is. I'll give you recommendations like all of the salsas in chapter 5, or these 3 or whatever, and even some of the photos have little stickers on them that say this goes great with this. But yeah, like I mean, to me, I learned so much writing this book because I got to be really creative and experiment. And another thing I was saying in the back is that about 25%, I don't know the exact number, but like I would say about 25% of the recipes in the book are canon Mexican cuisine, like the salsas exist in the universe, right? So there's obviously like a pico de gallo, and there's one of my favorites. I just love this name, is Xnipic, which is a Yucatecan pico de gallo made with habaneros. Xnipic means dog's nose, and it's because it's so hot that your nose is going to run like a dog. And so those recipes exist in canon, and I made my own version of them. But then the other 75% are just things that I made up. And a lot of it came from, and I use this example. The first one that I made up was a cucumber salsa, el pepino. And it's because I had this random, like, giant half, cucumber in my crisper drawer, and I was like, I don't know what to do with this. I don't know why I bought it, but I'm not gonna throw it away. So I'm like, I'm gonna make a salsa. And I'd never had a salsa that was, at its base was cucumber. And I made it, and I was kind of blown away, because it never occurred to me, like, cucumbers are so cooling and refreshing. So like, think spa water, right? You can add so much heat to it, but it's like the cucumber just cleanses your palate, and so it'll hit you really fast, and then it just sort of goes away. Oh. And it's just this really, really nice, like heat and cool all at the same time. Also, that particular salsa makes great micheladas verdes. Yeah, I've done those for events. It's really kind of fun. But yeah, and then once I did that, I was like, okay, so I'm just going to keep going. Because I think that's what I see in other people. Mm-hmm. Like I told you about this earlier. I've been to a lot of parties.
Oh, I love this story.
Yeah. In Mexico. So like carne asadas, weddings, birthday parties. And one of the things that was very evident from the beginning is that, there's always a hierarchy of who gets to cook what. Mm-hmm. So the eldest people, so the abuelos and abuelas, they get to decide what they're going to make. So if grandma wants to make tamales and menudo or pozole, that's her thing. Nobody else in the family can make that.
And no one tells her what to cook.
No.
Right. She just cooks whatever she wants.
Right. And then and obviously you have to love it, because it's
You damn well better love it. Yeah.
So then the next rung down are like the tias, tios, your parents. They decide what they're going to make. They make that. Yeah. And nobody can make those things. So if you're like a 10-year-old kid, by the time it gets down to you, the only thing left is salsa. Mm-hmm. And so the thing that was so crazy to me is that, I saw these 8, 9, 10, 11-year-old kids, zero cooking experience. They would go into mom's kitchen. It wasn't like they were the kid was making a list and saying, "Mom, can you go buy all this stuff for me?" No. It was like, oh, you've got like a half tomato and like a, mushy tomatillo and, all these chiles, mixing, matching, making something with, what's in the kitchen, limited equipment, probably not a lot of cooking, but also no parameters, no preconceived notions of this is the correct way, this is the incorrect way. They just do it. And then you get to the party, you have this bowl, so like all the other primos have like their little salsa bowls, and that's the 8-year-old kid with his bowl, and if like it's like the Oscars, if that bowl, the 8-year-old's bowl gets cleaned, and Grandpa comes up and says, "Oh my God, you need to make this for the next carne asada," it's like you just won the Oscar.
Yes.
And meanwhile, your 20-year-old primos like have their bowl still full, nobody touched them. And
Nobody
like,
wants their salsa?
yeah.
That salsa from the grocery store they got yesterday?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So like I wanted, first when I saw that, like I was like, I want to be that. Like I want to be that little kid that just, whatever, I'm just going to make something and, whatever. And then as I started thinking about it, I wanted, and also like when I was, making up these salsas myself, I thought, okay, I want to encourage people to do that as well. Because salsa making is fun, right? It's like you're always making it for a group of people. So it's like unless you're me, you like I make salsa for myself, but one person. But like generally, you're making it for a Taco Tuesday, or for a family, or for an event, a party, a get together, a happy hour, and it's. The process should be as fun as the event you're going to take it to.
Mm-hmm. And maybe some are successes, and maybe some are like, oh my goodness, this is setting my mouth on fire in a way that I don't enjoy. Although most of the time I think, yeah, you can like, what can you said, I think, yes, you said in the back, what's it called, capsaicin? There's a way to actually get the flavor of the chile without having the heat.
Right. So basically, there's a couple of ways to do this. So if you make a salsa and you're a little too aggressive with your heat, one thing that I found is that after 24 hours in the refrigerator, the heat level goes down by a notch. So if you make it and then just like, so you can't eat it right then and there, put it in the fridge, let it sit 24 hours, and then if it was super spicy, it'll probably be medium spicy the next day. Another thing you can do is you can stir in a tablespoon or two of crema or olive oil, or whatever oil you like, and that will coat your tongue, so the receptors in your tongue won't be as prone to taking in the capsaicin, so it won't feel as hot as you eat it. Also, you get like this. There's I think it's one of the ahumados. Basically, it's like 4 or 5 ingredients. It's like tomatoes, canned chipotles, and crema, and it tastes so good. The crema, so Mexican crema is kind of more like creme fraiche. So it has almost like this sort of Parmesan-y, cheesy flavor to it. And so you can mix that, a couple of tablespoons of good crema in a salsa, kind of move it over into almost like queso land. And
interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
But again, those are ways that you can manage the heat. You can also, so the capsaicin is soluble in oil. The crema and the oil, obviously those are ways to dissolve the heat, but also you can soak the chiles before you make the salsa in vinegar or high-proof alcohol, or just like a standard like vodka or tequila. After about an hour, you'll basically take them down one full notch. So like I love the flavor of habaneros, but a lot of times like it's really spicy for me. Also, I don't want to kill my friends. So, but if you basically just cut them in half, take the seeds out, soak them in a cup or cup and a half of alcohol or vinegar. After about an hour, they go down to about medium spicy. You can go as long as like 2 hours, and then it'll be like super mild at that point.
In the meantime, I'm sitting at a breakfast table with my partner's mom, and she's like, "Are you enjoying your, like huevos con chiles?" And I'm like, Sí, señora, mucho me gusta muchísimo, la verdad. And I'm like sweating, and like my lip is like sweaty, and I'm like trying to look like I'm enjoying myself as someone from Central America that does not eat any chile. And I will learn because I love this woman. And I'm sure, honestly, I've never seen someone eat chile the way that she eats chile. Like to an extent that is like astonishing, the joy that she takes in the pain of it. Deep joy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No, Mexicans, my parents, so they grew jalapenos and serranos and chile piquin.
Yeah.
And they would, just like a normal dinner, like we always had salsa on the table. But if they were eating I don't know, fried chicken or something like, American, non-Mexican food, they would just have like a jalapeno, whatever was like fresh. And so they take a bite of chicken and then take a bite of jalapeno.
Immediately,
and I'm like,
right there,
what?
yes.
And my brother and I are like, you guys are insane. I used to get so mad because at Thanksgiving, my mother used to make this amazing cornbread dressing. And they made two versions. There was the adult version, which had a lot of jalapeno, and then the me and Mark version, which was it was also really small. So we would always finish ours on Thanksgiving Day, after the first round of leftover, or the second dinner. And then we're like, well, now we can't eat any more dressing because it's the other one's too hot. I'm like, can you please switch this up? So anyway.
They were just trying to teach you.
Yeah.
They're like, ease into it. We have an audience question, and I've been told that your necklace is gorgeous, and it's also getting in the way of the mic a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, slightly. But it is quite beautiful. Yeah. And you all know Slido.com. Please, tell us what you think about the food. I'm sure you have thoughts about this, and I have no doubt you're going to be using this week to cook because there are also chocolate chip cookies in here, which I really want to make. There seems to be a race to make peppers hotter. Is there a pepper you wouldn't make a salsa out of? Carolina Reapers, for example.
Yeah, so here's the thing. I don't necessarily have a problem with the hotter peppers, as long as they have flavor. So I love habaneros because they're very floral and fruity, and I love that flavor. So I've eaten the Reapers, and they do have a nice flavor. To me, it's about the flavor and less about the heat. I don't like food that is just hot and doesn't have good flavor. So, and actually I would also argue that I think it's the chilies are actually moving in the other direction. So especially in the United States, farmers are breeding the heat out of jalapenos.
Oh, totally, yeah.
Yeah, so they're all practically bell peppers now.
Yeah.
But ghost chiles, I actually did a reel years ago. I think it was during the pandemic. I was a little bored. I had a friend that was growing them, and I just well, I'm going to eat it and see what happens. And it was, it was hot. It didn't make me die or whatever. But also, I was just it didn't have the flavor of something that I really like. One of my favorite chiles right now that I just pretty much use in everything is chiltepín. I just love it. It makes me so happy. And it's interesting because the heat, it does have a really intense heat, but it hits you and then it pulls back. So it's really quick. And so you're just ooh, I'm alive, I'm awake. And then you go in again.
You go in, it's like a bit of hit of endorphins, you eat it again.
But it's got this, it's imagine the most flavorful Spanish paprika. It's that. But with a little bit of guajillo and ancho mixed in. It's just such a beautiful, complex flavor. And so, I was in Sonora earlier this year, and I don't know why, but I was I'm going to buy a kilo of chiltepín, which is whatever. Anyway, I'm not quite through with my kilo yet, but getting there.
How you say, and it's in a very small caption I might note, that when you were younger, it wasn't something, you couldn't handle the spice of it. Did you train yourself to do it, or was it the love of the food that brought you to appreciate it?
It wasn't really training, but like I said, I mean, my father and I had an aunt on my mom's side. They were the ones that ate the hottest.
Yeah.
Even at family gatherings, there was the separate salsa for just them that nobody else could eat, and I never understood that. I just didn't get it. And so Mark and I, my brother, had like our salsa, which was like the baby salsa or whatever. And then just like it wasn't anything that I ever thought I'm gonna try and start eating hotter foods. Like I had been eating hotter foods, throughout my life progressively, and then in the last 5 years, I have a much stronger appreciation for the flavor of chiles. And so now I just eat more of them. And so by definition, the things that I eat are typically hotter. But also, like, there's a little taco stand in the mornings about a block and a half from my house. And I love, this woman makes the best salsa con chicharrón. And so, yeah, I know, it's like ridiculous. So she is known for having one of the hottest salsas in Mazatlan. So she makes its avocado, tomatillos, chile de árbol, and habaneros. And it makes me weep. But it's so good, and I just can't stop eating it. Like, it's just so delicious. And I think, that's kind of where it started. Because like when I first got to Mazatlan, I would go there like almost like at least once a week, but maybe like, every day. Yeah. And I would always try and eat as much of that salsa as I could like stand before my, my throat and my stomach were like,
In the meantime, your parents are incredibly proud because you've come around to their side.
Yeah. Although now my father's 88, so now he can't eat. Yeah, he's kind of like how I was when I was a teenager. So I'm just like, here, have some Tums.
And in the meantime, my girlfriend's like, this is the food of my people. This is my lineage. My stomach lining is fine. And it will be until I'm 95.
Right.
Yes.
And I know,
Yeah.
like, I'm watching my dad. I'm like,
Yeah.
this is me in, like, a few more years. So, yeah. I know. They'll figure it out. There'll be a pill for that.
So there is a question that many people are asking, it seems. There's more passion, history, and family in salsa. Is there a place for store-bought, mass-produced jarred salsa at the grocery store? There was a whole face. That face was just like, the answer was in the face.
Okay, so, I mean, yeah, obviously you know my answer to that. But also, okay, here's the thing. You can make salsa really easily, even with like canned or dried things. So like I was actually, I don't even know, because I'm going to be on the Today Show next week. And so
Okay, humble brag. Let's applause, please. That's amazing. Also, I'm really happy I was first. I'm just going to note, I'm happy you came here first.
So I'm making tortas, and one of them is basically like an elote grilled cheese. So it's like rajas, corn, grilled cheese, mayo, and like salsa mixed together, and then you like griddle it.
Oh my God.
And then so I grew up in the 70s in Texas, and we had Velveeta grilled cheese sandwiches and Campbell's tomato soup.
Yep.
Yum. But I wanted to make this sort of like the Mexican version of that. So I'm using a can of diced tomatoes, fire roasted if you have them. If not, regular diced is fine. Garlic, chile de árbol, and a little bit of olive oil or vegetable oil. So all you do is you fry the garlic and the chile de árbol, add the can of tomatoes, let it simmer for about 10 minutes, get a masher or a fork, smash it up. Boom, you've got like a really delicious pantry salsa. Like I'm assuming everybody has a can of tomatoes, right?
Totally, yeah.
Yeah, and so to me, I really like that salsa. I mean, straight up, I really do. And also it's like really great to dunk your grilled cheese sandwich in that. But to me, like if I can do that and it takes like 10 minutes of my time, I would 1,000% rather eat that than a store-bought jar of salsa.
Yeah.
And also because there's a lot of preservatives and other weird shit in there. Like I don't.
Usually really salty.
It's salty or it's sweet
High
or
sodium.
the worst to me is like I can taste the preservatives. Like I just hate that flavor. It's like this weird sour musty flavor. It's no.
I mean, never again. Anyone in this room, never again. No one's ever going to buy store-bought salsa after getting this book. It's also just very pretty. I'm very obsessed with the title of it's the encurtidos and picantes, the witch's salsa,
Ooh,
salsa bruja.
yeah.
Would you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so this is one of the salsas that is canon, and it's basically like how like malted vinegar is served on fried seafood or fried fish, right? So that's exactly what this is. So in coastal towns, you basically infuse a lot of herbs, spices, aromatic vegetables, and obviously chiles in a vinegar. And then after that's like, you can heat it up and let it steep and then let it sit for, a few days, weeks, whatever. And then just, you put it over your fried seafood or your tacos or tostadas or whatever. And it's amazing. Like it's really, really good.
Do you know why it's called the witch's salsa?
Because it's super hot.
Huh. And so if you actually can handle it, it must be that you're...
Yeah.
Brujísima. There's a really good question here. Actually, I think I was going to reference the mañanera that you mentioned earlier, but it's salsas for different meals. So not just for breakfast, but although they're asking about a good breakfast salsa, I would also say salsas for like late night snacks, like...
Yeah, I mean, so the mañanera, like I love, and so I don't know, like, do people know what mañanero is? Okay, so for those that don't know, I wanted to start the book. So this is the first recipe in the book. I wanted to start off with something spicy, right?
Yeah.
So mañanero in Spanish, in Mexico, means morning sex. And so I decided to name the first recipe mañanera because it's spicy and some days you need to like start your day with a little bit of kick. So that to me, this is another really easy salsa. You basically, one of the things that I really like to do now too is I like making salsas with both tomatillos and tomatoes. Especially in the US, like so much of the year, you just have crappy tomatoes that don't have a lot of flavor.
Really?
And so you can revive the flavor of a tomato by adding a tomatillo to the mix. So the tomatillo, typically in the US, the tomatillos are decent year round. And they carry a lot of acid and a little bit of sweetness. And even if you have like a really horrible winter tomato, one tomatillo, like if you've got like 4 tomatoes and 1 tomatillo, it kind of balances it out and it starts to taste like tomato again.
Yeah.
And so the mañanera is like a combination of tomatoes and tomatillos. It's a boiled salsa, which I also don't think most Americans typically boil their salsas. It's a completely different type of flavor and texture, and I really like it. It's the way that my mother typically made salsa.
On a daily basis?
Yeah. And so, they had a really big garden. And so, in the summertime, so we had the serranos, jalapenos, and the piquin. And so depending on what was ready, she would just like go pick that. And then she grew Mexican oregano, the tomatoes and the onions and garlic. And so she would just like throw that. She had a little stainless steel pot with a black top and a black handle. And I remember that because I was like the salsa pot. I think it was probably like 1.5 quarts. And I just remember like, cause the lid would make, when it was boiling, it would kind of,
you would hear it
jingle.
Like,
yeah. And I could, and so I have this memory as a little kid, whenever I heard that was like the salsa was being made. And then she had a molcajete and she would just like grind it up. And then there was always, they would, very typical mom, like we had like the peanut butter jars that were empty and then she'd clean them and then those became the salsa jars.
Yeah.
And they were always, always full.
I love that you noted there's no cilantro here because it can be an assertive flavor and it's not legally required for every salsa, FYI. I'm making my own rules now and I don't care who knows it. This is chapter 1. And you're out here like going after cilantro?
I mean, I love cilantro, but like also, it's not required.
Yeah, facts.
There are other herbs in Mexico.
Are there?
No, there are. There are. Although I have to. This is funny because like in Oaxaca, they grow a lot of basil. Like when one of the first times I went to the mercados in Oaxaca, and not even just the city, like in smaller towns around the state. Like there's just they would grow the basil and they would get big bushy and they would just like pull the whole bush out of out of the ground, and then they would sell them at the mercado. And I kept looking, I'm like, I've never tasted, I don't think, a dish that had a strong basil flavor. And you'd think with all the basil that's grown here, like, what is happening? Well, it turns out they use that to clean their house.
No way.
It's basically like a duster. Like, they're literally like, and so your whole house smells like basil. It's great. But yeah, some people do use it like to cook with as well. But you know.
Generally, it's a broom.
Well, no, it's like a hand duster.
It's
like, yeah.
I have to go to Oaxaca and see this. This is a good question. Are there flavors, smells, etc., from certain salsas that immediately take you to a time and place? So,
100%.
what is there an anecdote that transports you?
So it's probably the memory that is strongest in my mind. It's also, so it's in this book. So my mother, so I grew up in the 70s, and at that time in Texas, most, I think, well, I don't know most, but like our family, they would make flour tortillas. My mom, my tias, and my grandmother. And then the 80s came, and then you could buy them at the grocery store, flour tortillas, and then they all stopped. And so then all we ate were like, you know, the H-E-B, like store-bought tortillas.
Yeah.
So I was very sad. But there were a few dishes that my mother would make, that she would make homemade flour tortillas. And so one of them was her chili colorado. And it was one of my favorite dishes that she made. And also she, like, when we were young, we would go to Progreso, which is a border town. It's on the Mexican side, or the Mexico side. And we would just like, she would go shopping, and you know, my padrinos would come with us, and you know, like whatever. Like, it was just like a fun little, you know, like weekend trip. And we would do this pretty often. And she would go to the mercados, and she would buy, she would always buy a broom, because she swore by Mexican brooms. And then she would buy chiles, ancho, guajillo, and pasilla. And she would use those to make her guisos, and in particular the chile colorado. And this was at a time when most people were using chili powders. And my aunts, her sisters and sisters-in-law, would make fun of her. They're like, why are you using like whole chilies? Why are you like driving to Mexico to get whole chilies to come back when you could literally just go and get the McCormick's, you know, like can?
Why are you doing all this work? Yeah.
Right. And she was like, nope, this is like, it tastes so much better. And it does. But anyway, so like, it was just such a simple dish of chilies and stewed pork. And so when I got to college, and I would come home, she would ask me, like, what do you want me to make you when you get home? And I would always ask her for that to make that. Because also I knew she was gonna make tortillas. And so I'd get home, I'd open the door, and the first thing that would hit me is the smell of the chiles, the pork, the cumin, the ajo. And it was just, it was like so, it was like a big hug. And then I could hear and then the second thing that hit me is the sound of her rolling pin on the counter as she was rolling out the tortillas. And there were times that I would just stand at the door and I wouldn't even come in because I would just take in that moment, you know?
Yeah, I do.
And, sorry. So my mom's been gone for almost 14 years now. But my father gave me a lot of her cooking spoons and her rolling pin. So the photo in the book is, there's the chile colorado, but the primary focus is the flour tortilla. So like I rolled out the dough with her rolling pin, and that's in the photo. Yeah.
It's really beautiful.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, it's a beautiful story. It feels strange to follow it with this question, but I think you're going to love it.
Yeah.
If you are a salsa daddy, who would you name It's your salsa mommy.
Ooh. Actually, so I don't know if you've seen this. Did you see this?
I did see this as soon as
Yeah.
you walked in, friend.
So this is the daddy necklace. The salsa mommy. Wow. I don't know. I think I might have to give it to my mom because like that's where this all started from, right? Like when I was little, like I was probably like 3 or 4. When she picked me up from daycare, she was a nurse.
Yeah, my mother's a nurse.
Nurses are the best.
Nurses are wonderful.
They're
I
the
agree.
best people ever.
Yeah.
So she worked at the Austin City Hospital for 30 years, and she ran the recovery room. And so she'd pick me up from daycare, and she would go into her bedroom and change, and then I would get a chair from the dining room, and I would push it to the stove, and I would stand on the chair, and I would just wait for her to come to the kitchen. And then she just I would stir pots. She would tell me what she was doing, why she was doing it, and that was like our thing, like our on a daily basis. And so I learned. I don't know that I learned any techniques during that time, but what I learned was you cook with love, right? I think, and I believe this very firmly, like when you make something and you feel what you're making, you're putting your love, all of yourself into something, the person that receives it feels that and they can taste it. If I know that when I am in a bad mood or I'm not focused or paying attention, the food that I make sucks. And I'm like, what is this? Why did I make this? And it's just, I don't know that there's any because I weigh everything out to the gram. So I know exactly what I did. But I just think that there is an emotional element to things. And I think that the worst thing that you could have ever done to my mother is tell her that you didn't like something that she made you. It would have just crushed her. I mean, luckily in the 40 years that I was with her, there were probably only 2 dishes that she ever made that were, canned salmon, croquettes. Oh, no. Yeah.
So you didn't? Did you tell her?
I was like, I'm not that hungry today.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
No. Would you share why now on this book, the story you told, what you felt like this would bring at this moment?
Yeah, so I think the primary reason is because I just feel like there are a lot of beliefs that people have about salsa, right? There's this. You don't put tomatoes in guacamole, or you do put tomatoes in guacamole, or whatever. Just things like that. That I just wanted to set the record straight, right? It's you do whatever you want. If you love, if you want to put sardines in it, go for it. If it makes you happy, you should be happy. And I wanted to encourage people to be creative and cook with what they love, with what they have, with what's in season. Because I think that's part of just the general joy of cooking.
Totally.
But I also think the design of this book, to me, and as I said, I think that making salsa is fun, and it's like a pregame to the party that you're about to throw or the event that you're about to take it to. And so I wanted to incorporate as much fun and joy and love into this book as possible, because I also thought we needed a little bit more of that, right? To me, the design and the color of this book was so important because it carries so much of the feeling that I get when I cook, which is that just utter joy and happiness and excitement. When I make a salsa and I know it's really good and I feed it to the people around me and they get really excited, okay, I wanted that, but on the page.
Yeah.
And I don't believe that it's possible to cook from this book and not be in a good mood. If someone wants to prove me wrong, go ahead. But I just, there's the colors. I tried so hard to put as much color and joy and happiness. And the production team, as I said, we're all friends. We worked together for years. And everybody was just having a really great time. And we would shoot about 8 dishes a day. And then we would eat together, right? Like we just like, whatever we cooked that day, we'd have a giant family meal, and I'd pull out the tequila and the mezcal, and and then we're like having fun and talking about what we're gonna do tomorrow. And I think when you work like that and you cook like that, then the person that eats it feels that.
No question. What a beautiful way to start Hispanic Heritage Month.
Yes.
Yeah. Shall we cook?
Let's cook.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Okay. So this isn't really cooking, it's more like assembly, but...
And I'm watching and explaining.
Yeah. So I wanted to do this for two reasons. So basically what I'm going to make are molequiles. So if you like chilaquiles, this is that, but with mole.
Okay.
So I like this dish because, I think a lot of people think of mole as like a very serious dish, and you serve it over, chicken or turkey or roast vegetables, and you can definitely do all those things. But you can also like make it into a really quick meal, a really quick breakfast the next day. You don't have to use mole. You can pretty much use whatever salsa that you want. And all you're really doing is like tossing it in a little bit of totopos, chips, tostadas. Typically you would take sort of the leftover tortillas that you had from the day before, fry them up, crunch them up, toss them together, and then serve it. I like it with rotisserie chicken or shredded chicken, a fried egg, lots of crema, queso.
And for folks who don't know, mole is one of my favorite foods. What is in mole?
So typically a lot of ingredients. So this recipe, it's actually in Salsa Daddy. It's a mole sencillo, which is like basically an easy mole. And I wanted, so this has under 12 ingredients, I think it's like 11. And what I wanted to do is teach the technique of making mole, because it's pretty common that most moles are made, using these techniques. But they typically have like, 50 plus ingredients.
Totally.
So my feeling is if you can master it with 10 ingredients, then you can definitely then make it with 50. So it's a salsa that is cooked. There's typically more chiles secos than anything else. There are nuts, seeds. Sometimes there's a little chocolate in it. It really depends on what part of Mexico you're in. I think a lot of people tend to think that it's very sweet. It can be. In Puebla, mole poblano to me is like really, really, really sweet. So there's both piloncillo and chocolate. The moles in Oaxaca tend to be a little bit less sweet. They still have a little bit of sweetness to them, but it also comes from plantains or dried fruit, things that are used in the moles up there.
And so we're blending, you're mixing the mole
We're just
in
mixing.
with the, you said totopos.
Totopos, yeah.
Yeah.
So what, for this dish, typically chilaquiles are made, you get a sartén or a skillet, a pot, you heat up your salsa, and then as the salsa is like cooking, you toss in your totopos and then toss them together and then serve. I prefer tossing it off heat because the totopos get really, really soggy after a really quick amount of time. And if you mix it in a bowl separately, the salsa can be like hot, like right out of the pot, but you get a little bit more crunch than if you throw them on the stove. But that's just a total personal preference. You make it the way you like it. Yeah. And you can basically use any salsa that you like. And that's what's great about this particular dish is it's super easy and very comforting.
And very pretty, honestly.
Yeah. I'm actually, like, my mouth is watering just looking at it.
I was going to say, mostly you have chilaquiles. People assume it's salsa verde or salsa roja, but you can do it with, you have a ton of salsas to try it with in the book.
Right.
Yeah.
And you can also mix and match. One of the other things that I didn't anticipate about the book is that if you make a salsa and you like it, and you make another salsa and you like it, chances are it's gonna go together. So like if let's say you have half a cup of this and a cup of that, and you wanna make you wanna put it in beans, right? You can just like dump them both in the pot of beans, cook the beans, and it'll taste really, really good.
Yeah.
I make a lot of fried rice also. Like I love rice, and so I typically have like leftover rice, leftover salsa, some leftover protein, vegetables. And then if I'm like really busy that week and I know what to make for dinner, I'm just gonna fry some rice up and just throw like all the leftover bits together. And that's where you can like just take all the little, half cups of salsa, quarter cups of salsa that are left and throw them together and make something really yummy. So I also like I use a lot of rotisserie chicken. Rotisserie chicken is luckily very, very good in Mexico and in Mazatlan where I live. So I eat a lot of that. And I'll do the crema last. We'll do some red onions. Again, garnish with whatever you like. Pickled red onions would also be very good on this.
I was going to say pickled something, yeah. And queso fresco, allá.
Sí,
Yeah.
claro. Or cotija, or Oaxaca, queso Oaxaca. And a lot of it because yum cheese. And then we'll do like a little crema.
And to note, you did, that was sour cream and then you blended it.
Yeah, so like it typically, the crema is a little bit more pourable. So you can, if you just have sour cream, you can thin it with a little bit of water. So a tablespoon of sour cream, a tablespoon of milk or water, and then a little cilantro or basil or whatever herbs you'd like. Get your duster and pull the leaves off. And there is your plate of molequiles.
It's stunning.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rick.
Were you gonna try it?
I am going to try it. Yes, yes, please.
I'm gonna use my hands.
Well, then, same. It's here.
That's good.
I love this event so much. Thank you.
No,
Thank you so much.
Thank all of you.
Thank you, Rick. Thank you, Cristela. And I'll finish that. Thank you. We'll see you out in the lobby.
Who's going to take that?